Star Citizen's 3.23 update is the biggest one we've had in a while, but most importantly, it's one that seemingly is building out a path for Star Citizen to become an actual game, and not just whatever it is now. Anyway, let's get straight into it. I finally got around to visiting the new Sand Cave archetype from a year ago, because now they actually have missions in the form of what was that? Hunting copium dogs. And oh boy, am I glad to see actual animals in this game. It is just incredible to see it. Obviously, their behavior is as it is because of server performance more than anything else, but it was still really cool to see them just walking around with the little animations, and them actually lunging at you is pretty goddamn terrifying. However, repeatedly killing them, I felt pretty bad to be honest, and I even tried to bring them out to my Pisces rescue, but I couldn't. They just disappeared when they left the cave. And also, these sand caves feel like they were made for the Copions in the first place, even though they've been in the game for like a year now. I have to say, the missions without the markers was so much better. This one just specifically bugged, but I would prefer if they got rid of the markers altogether. It really makes it feel a lot more immersive when you don't have those. Apart from the funny dogs, they also added birds. However, I haven't seen these yet. They look cool though, and I can't wait for them to add more fauna. We got the space cows, we'll one day have the pyro crabs, but easily the thing that I'm looking forward to most are the giant stalwarts. These being space whales, swimming around in the gas giant that is Crusader. Floating above a massive gas giant the size of Earth to scale feels incredible. EVA 2.0. Now, this might have been one of the features I was most excited about for this update. However, I can probably say that for any of the features. It's far from the biggest one, but it really meant a lot to me, as EVA was the thing that got me into this game in the first place. I remember the moment I saw someone jumping out of their ship above the atmosphere of Yela or some other moon or planet, just completely seamlessly. I hadn't seen a game where you could do anything like that before. However, when I got the game, I was still a little bit disappointed with its functionality more than anything else. But this is a step in the right direction. It's so much better than what we had before, and it's still got a long way to go. We're gonna see some push and pull mechanics and a bunch of other stuff, I'm sure. It's just one of the examples, out of many, that Star Citizen is really pushing towards its potential future, that changes are being made for the best. And they're not definitive, but as I said, it's a step in the right direction. There's also reduced jank and everything. Entering and exiting ships is just feeling a lot better. But before I ramble on about EVA any further, let's talk about clouds. Just in case you didn't think clouds looked incredible in this game already, they somehow made them better. They added a new graphics setting, and they also added fog and these incredible god rays. Anyway, that's clouds. They look great. Even better somehow. I don't know how they did it. Character creator, it's great, it feels great, and it gives way for some amazing abominations. And is that not what's at the soul and at the center of every single MMO, is to be able to create the perfect little gremlin goober. Personally, I present to you Seaweed Man, but there are some terrifying abominations out there. Next up, water physics. I thought I'd record this part whilst it's raining outside, and that is definitely a choice. Not something I got stuck with. Anyway, there are some things that don't quite make sense, like bombs making a beam of light into the atmosphere. Sadly, they fixed that one, but I wanted to keep it in because it was kind of funny. But across the board, water physics look great. And every time you forget what happens when you go into water with your ship, you get to experience the new floating stuff, which looks very cool. However, flying above the water usually looks better. But something else that looks great is shooting the water and walking through it, as that also has effects. Also, when you shoot the water, you get splashes of water up onto your face, which is pretty cool. This also applies to grenades, missiles, and probably a lot of other things. Boxes too, for example. They drop into the water and they float. Very cool. Very, very cool. Quick note, there's been a polish pass to the water system, and it all legitimately looks a fair bit better. Look at the water. UI. There is a lot to cover here, but let's start with the elephant in the room, that being the minimap / star map. And for people like me that get easily confused or lost, this is a great feature. You can route to any point and it actually tells you where to go. For example, on the Idris, where I have no idea where I am at any given point in time, now I can just find the cockpit. In larger city areas, this is also very useful because you can actually travel to the different places. Like for example, even if I'm at Aspire Grand, I can have a look at the Commons minimap. The transition between that map and the star map looks a lot better than what it does right now in this clip, but that's the nature of EPTU, it just keeps getting updated. The star map is great, it looks way better than it used to, and its functionality is way better than it used to be. And we have search functionality. Then there's the Mobilize overhaul. It looks so much better, and it accompanies the whole new feel that you get from all the new UI elements outside of that too. There are still 2 applications that are outdated, that being comms and vehicles, but as for everything else it looks way better, and I'm sure comms and vehicles will get updated soon. We also got new quantum markers, they look a lot better, they are way less cluttery. We've got the new FPS UI, which is a lot more informative. Then we have the UI for the new looting inventory, which is great, responsive and useful. And I think that's about it, but then again, there's a lot of small, tiny little features in UI that are very cool and very nice and very cool. Next up, distribution centers. These look great. Currently they're quite laggy, but then again, they are constantly updating with performance fixes. They are really cool to fight at. They are such a refreshing change from bunkers and stuff like that, where it's an actual environment that's made for FPS. And it's just fucking cool. They're also absolutely massive, which gives room for stuff like ground vehicles actually being useful. Currently they're a bit broken, but hey, distribution centers are looking fantastic. At least most of the time. What else? This update is way too fucking big. For fuck's sake, why did I make this video? Master modes. Now, this is a pretty big update that I don't have much to say on, more than anything else because it is a little bit controversial and we are yet to see how it's going to work with all sorts of systems like quantum dampeners, EMPs, and all sorts of stuff. Personally, I think it'll take a little while and a lot of feedback to completely refine the current flight model. But like most things, it seems to be a general step in the right direction. The important thing is that they're making a change to how you fly your ship and what things you can have going at the same time, which kind of ties into engineering. Now, this is far from fully implemented, it's really just the first taste. I think it's only going to be in Arena Commander, even in live, but it is very interesting to see what they have in store. So I managed to get on a crew with Salty Mike and a bunch of other people from his stream to test this out, and it looks pretty cool. And the engineering will be using something like the minimap that we see, but then there's the whole net where you can see the fuse boxes and different components. From the engineering table, you can turn these on and off, and you'll need to do so strategically. For example, if you're standing your ground, you might not need the turrets that point backwards very much. Those might be more for when you're running away. So you can turn these on and off to cycle the power so that you can actually use the components you need. In addition, the fuse boxes and the components themselves can be damaged. If a fuse box is broken, then power distribution will work differently, and you might even be locked out of certain areas in the ship, let alone, talking about the guns and other stuff that might not be working. At one point, we also went out and attacked the ship with fighters to see if we could destroy specific components that we were aiming for. However, consistency ended up being a bit of a nightmare. We did see some fuse boxes going out and other stuff, but as for the specific components we were aiming for, we didn't get the results we quite expected. However, again, this is all in early development, and there will also be sub-component targeting. I mean, I think this is in right now, but it is a bit confusing, so I don't really know. As I said though, you can destroy the fuse boxes, and that can also cause the ship to spiral out of control, which is interesting. It would also seem that you can damage people inside the ship with projectiles from the outside, which is something we didn't have before. Or rather, we haven't had for a long time, apparently.
It used to be in Star Citizen 12 years ago.
Oh,
the original Arena Commander
that's like before I was born.
To the window for
fuck said that? Who said that?
Anyway, after that we ended up wrapping up, and engineering presents some really interesting stuff for the future of PvP, like understanding specific ships, knowing how to fight them, knowing how to be an engineer on them, and much more.
Yeah, that's good.
It's been fun.
Alright guys.
Cool, take care. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye, friend.
Friend. Performance. Now we have some substantial updates here which are really interesting. For one, the new render engine, Vulkan. We also have upscaling, and all of these combined legitimately make a huge difference on performance. I've been able to get 60 FPS on the Surface of Microtech, which is fantastic. And that is running in 4K too. Now obviously all of this varies a lot per your PC or whatever, but it does mean that the bar to entry is a little bit lower now. And aside from client-side performance, there's also server-side performance. There's a huge update that is the replication layer. an important step towards the holy grail that is server meshing, but for now it means that you don't get 30Ks anymore, which is kinda crazy. Instead you'll go into a state of server recovery, which means that the server will be offline for a little bit and then will be recovered. And the servers themselves feel a little bit better. They've even got some of the AI to work somewhat properly with even lower server FPS. But even then, it's still quite rough. And this is why I cannot wait for server meshing, hopefully coming late this summer. In all seriousness though, it is looking like a great update. If you have the game, it's in your hands right now. It is open to all backers at the moment. Although by the time I release this video, it might already be in live. But the theme of this update is a general step in the right direction. It feels like the team have properly moved on from Squadron 42 to the polish phase, and now Star Citizen can actually get some of the love. And hardly any of the new features are even close to perfect, but they are a lot better than they used to be, and some of them are pretty damn great. However, with the release of 3.23 into live, it could cause a lot of instability. Hopefully not another 3.18, but we'll see. Anyway, that's all. Thanks for watching. Hopefully there'll be some cool gameplay content soon.